So welcome back, everybody. It's time once again for Health Talks with Dr. Trinh. The one show, maybe the only show that shows you the path to a healthier life, one conversation at a time. And today, well, we've got a conversation you may have never heard before. That will make it all the more interesting and informative as we talk about a condition that, frankly, I've never heard of before, urethral stricture. And talk with a patient who's been dealing with this for some time and the steps and ideas he's taken to live with this, to get through all this. So let's get things rolling with Dr. Trinh, who's going to kick us off and bring everybody in here. Welcome.
All right, welcome to another Thursday morning, and welcome, Alex. Alex and I have gone back a few years in the world
Yes.
of CBD and the endocannabinoid system and all that. And glad to have his friend Shane on here, and of course Dr. Claudia Gabrielle as well, to chat about this condition that Alex will share about and some steps that he's taken to address it as well. So welcome, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for having us.
I thought I'd heard of every condition imaginable here, particularly after being on this show for so long. You got one I never heard of. So let's explain what this condition, it's urethral stricture, like a constriction. So let's explain what this is and how do you get it and how many people have it and what it's all about. Let's start with an overview.
Awesome. First, I want to say it's a pleasure being on the show, and thank you for having me and us on here.
Yeah,
Uh,
pleasure to have you come out and talk about something that I've never heard anybody talk about before.
Thank you. Yeah. So, what is a urethral stricture? A urethral stricture is a narrowing of the urethra, so it's caused by tissue inflammation or the presence of scar tissue. So the stricture restricts the flow of urine from the bladder and can cause a variety of medical problems in the urinary tract.
Okay.
It can be caused
not an
by,
area that we tend to think about or talk about. It's probably one of those. I don't want to hear about that conversation here. So we're going to go into some sensitive areas here, folks. Right? Yeah.
Very personal, and it's taken a lot for me to come on here
I appreciate
and
that.
talk about it. And, yeah. So yeah, like it can be caused by injury, even catheters or scopes, infections, and certain non-infectious forms of urethritis or urethritis. In my case, I believe it was an injury that occurred throughout my life, because I was very active. I played hockey for about 14 years. I had a few injuries down below that could have caused it. I haven't really found a direct cause for it because I've been living with it for more than half my life.
So if
And it
you
was
get an
only-
injury, I hate to say it, the hockey puck hits you in your, as my grandson
Yeah.
loves to say, my private parts. Yeah. But you get hit someplace, which is extremely painful. I remember once
Yeah.
in a screwing around with something, I got a basketball or something. I got hit in that area once really hard, a collision. Oh my God, it just doubled me over here.
It just like takes the wind right out of you.
Yeah. Right. Okay, so injury can cause this, or even a catheter. That's scary because obviously there are surgeries and other sorts of things. They insert a catheter, which is always just sends chills up my spine as a man. The idea of sticking something up my, dare I say, my penis here
Yes.
to have urine come out.
It is
seems like
somewhat of a phobia for me.
oh yeah, really. I can hardly even say it. It chokes me up to even think about it here. But that's what you do, right, doctor? What kind of surgeries require this, Dr. Trinh? My father used to have. He'd go in for something and they'd put a catheter in him here, so they didn't have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, it's a surgery done by a urologist with that, but there's some dilation involved of the stricture and things of that sort. But there's not a lot of this is not a very common thing. So
Yeah,
So
I have statistics on that.
Please,
Um,
is this something rare? Is this something common that's not talked about? But obviously, it's men we're talking about. Can this happen to women too, or something? I don't know.
yes, it's more prominent in men, but it can happen to women as well.
Okay.
In 2022, a report from eMedicineMedscape.com showed the annual incident rate of urethral strictures estimated to be from 200 to 1,200 cases per 100,000 population. And it was dramatically higher rates in people older than 55.
Yeah, I would think because what other sorts of things can happen to injury be one? What other things can constrict the flow of urine out? What is it that can cause that? Is it just a buildup of like I don't know
Well,
some
it can,
tissue?
like a direct injury, or it can even come from STIs as well, some type of whatever is inflaming the area
Yeah,
and preventing access. So when I had my cystoscopy,
which is what I don't know what that
it,
is.
that's technically a thin catheter with a camera on there.
Oh my,
So they put it in and to see where the issues are,
where's the
and
blockage? Right? Yeah.
there's a blockage. They couldn't enter my bladder, so they said that it was a pinpoint urethral stricture, and they actually assigned me to a surgery called direct visual urethroplat or direct visual urethrotomy.
mm,
So that was going
Easier for
to
you to say than me here. I don't even. So basically, there's some blockage, there's some constricture from your
yes.
bladder that prevents urine from flowing out. What happens when the urine doesn't flow out? Does it just build up? Does it cause
So
pain? Does it?
that's a good question. Yeah, the symptoms and signs are decreased urine stream, incomplete bladder emptying, spraying of the urine stream, difficult straining or more frequent urination, and urinary tract infections. And I have experienced all these throughout my life.
Let's break down some of those here. Urinary tract infections. I've never had one, but I know that
Okay.
my late mother and her sister, late sister, as they entered their 80s and beyond, used to get urinary tract infections all the time. And I
Yeah,
went to their doctor and I said, why? And they said, because at some point they're just not, this is going to sound horrible again, we're going to get graphic. They just don't wipe very well. They're
right.
old and this stays there, your feces or other sorts of things, and you get infections. And apparently it's more common with women than men.
Yes.
But one of the side effects of a simple urinary tract infection, it seemed like it was the flu. They'd get a mild fever and some other things, is, to Dr. Trin's world, is they would get out of it. They would have episodes that looked like they were having Alzheimer's. They would act. What would you say, Dr. Trin? They act like they're losing it.
delirious,
Yeah,
like acute confusion,
acute
delirium.
confusion. Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a sign of the infection going systemic as well. So that's why they were having the mental changes, because the infection gets into the bloodstream. So it can be very serious.
And of course, at their age, they're just saying, well, they're having dementia, and that's to be expected. And then, yet the dementia would clear up magically when the infection would clear up. And so
Mhm.
we had to begin to try and dissect. And what we thought was a simple thing, just go get an antibiotic, had very serious side effects and certainly visible consequences beyond just feeling like they were sick and had the flu and had a mild fever here. So Dr. Claudia joins us. How did you come into this conversation, and what can you add to what we're talking about here?
Well, I was invited by Alex through Alcoviva. I've been recommending alkaline ionized water since 2010, when I was introduced to it by Barbara Brown and Dr. Tom Taylor of Whole Life Whole Health. And I was in the middle of my health crisis when I went to their seminar and I learned about alkaline ionized water. And ever since then, I've been recommending it to every patient, family, friend, because it really makes a difference.
And we'll get into that in a moment of how it can make a difference here. And I've got some ideas and experience with that as well here. So let's finish the story. How did you discover that you had this? What were the symptoms over what period of time? And how to take us through that journey. All of a sudden, your urine spraying out. I guess it's like a garden hose that's constricted. It's shooting all over the place here. Or it's not coming out at all here. Does that lead to pain? Does that lead to backup? Does that lead to other things? Yeah.
Yeah, it's very uncomfortable. I was always the person, if I'm going on long car rides, like, oh, please, you got to stop over or pull over to the side. And I was that annoying person that had to do it more than once. It's very uncomfortable, and there has been lots of pain. When I was younger, I did see urologists, and they did all the x-rays and CT scans and all that, and they really couldn't find anything. They didn't do any direct like cystoscopies because I guess I was too young, and they kind of just treated it as, oh, you have a UTI, so go on antibiotics and uh, and that. So like,
So there's just saying it's inflamed for some reason. Take an antibiotic, the inflammation will go down, the flow will pick back up again here, and no problems here. So is it?
and yeah, so what happened was like my symptoms were relieved with antibiotics, but unfortunately it just came back throughout my life. So wasn't too sure what was going on, and I just kind of had to live with it and find alternative ways. I've lived a long time without a family doctor, so I've kind of had to figure things out on my own. And
we've talked about that a lot. We're guys. We don't go see the doctor. Come on. I just tough it out. I'll get over it. Suck it up here. Yeah, exactly. Here. And so, over a period of time, when did you first start experiencing this? As a teenager in your 20s? You don't look that old now here. You look,
I'm turning 37 at the end of this month.
Oh my goodness. I would have said 27, but okay. All right.
Well, thank you. It would have to be my early teens that this has occurred, and it was only diagnosed last year.
And that's a time when guys are cruel to one another here. What's the matter with you, buddy? Hey, come on. I was going to say, my late father was a stickler. Once we get in this car, we're not stopping for anything.
Yeah.
Got to go to the bathroom. You better go now, buddy.
Yeah, there's been a lot of invalidation from many people just because they don't understand, or they they know someone going through cancer cancer or something, and they're like, oh well, at least that's not cancer or like that. So it's very tough.
Not a lot of sympathy from your male bonding buddies here saying, oh, I get it, man. I understand. I'll accommodate you here. It's and you didn't really even understand it. Last question, and we'll get into some of the other things here. Dr. Trinh, is this commonly misdiagnosed? You're a doctor. Would you catch this right away, or would you guess it's just a urinary tract infection or something?
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first thing I think of.
Yeah.
So I do, sorry to cut you off, Dr. Trinh. I know we're on a limited time here, and I want to kind of dig into my research of things that have helped me relieve the symptoms. Okay. And I think it could help a lot of people going through this that haven't necessarily gone through the surgery yet.
And this isn't curing it. This is just handling it.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not curing it. Everything I've read, I haven't really found a specific cure, just something that has prolonged the inevitable of having a doctor doing something up there.
Yeah, which means surgery, cutting something, or before you go into the alternative treatments, what does the surgery look like? What do they do? Do they make a hole bigger? Do they make the pipe bigger? Do they repipe it somehow here? What do they do?
So there's different approaches. There's the direct visual urethrotomy. That's basically taking, from what I remember, is taking a piece from a skin from your body is cutting the stricture out and kind of replacing it with another skin, if that makes sense, and
So it's like if
making
this is a pipe, I'm going to cut a section of the pipe out, and then I got to somehow stitch those two pieces together here.
Yes, yeah.
Yikes.
And then there's dilation. Dr. Trinh mentioned that earlier. That's basically taking some wires up there and dilating it, and then there's
Is everybody as queasy hearing this as I am here?
I was gonna say none of this sounds fun.
No, my God.
Oh,
This is like an area I don't want to mess with, and you're talking about sticking wires and cutting things and everything. Yikes.
So there is alternative methods. There's a procedure, I believe, that was founded in 2012, and it's called the Optimum procedure. Basically, what this is a drug-coated balloon. So they put the balloon up there, is coated with a drug to kind of
Expand.
numb.
It's sort of like an angioplasty where they put a balloon up your heart valve and try and blow
Yes.
up the balloon to try and make the artery bigger.
Yes, and this procedure has been shown to have a more longer efficacy rate, because the other ones, the direct visual ureterotomy has about an 80% efficacy rate upon surgery, but within a year it drops down to 60%.
You go through all this, they stick a wire up my penis here and all these things, and all of a sudden, a year later, 60% chance it's going to work. I got to do this again sometime?
Yes, and this is what people are going through. They're going through many surgeries because the stricture reforms. And with the Optimum procedure, it has shown to be longer than 2 years, and there hasn't been any adverse effects as of yet that I know of.
All right, last question. I'm sorry to keep delving into this, but you opened the door here, and my imagination's running wild here. Any other side effects of this? Is there sexual performance issues? Is there anything else that you run into? Do you become sterile or something here? I can think
I'm glad you brought that up because that was a concern of mine, and I'm proud to say that my wife will be giving birth in June this year.
Yay! Congratulations!
Thank you.
The world needs more people like you, so I'm happy that you're doing that. Good for you, Alex.
Yeah.
Thank you, Shane.
Because I would think, again, maybe this is just an unspoken fear, Dr. Trinh, but you start messing with that area down there, I start thinking of all the other things that can go wrong too. And particularly if I was a young guy looking to start a family or whatever here, all those things would enter my head here. So that doesn't necessarily lead to sterility or sexual dysfunction or anything else here. It's just the flow of the urine is impacted here.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for addressing that. I'm sorry to get really personal here, but those are the things going through my head here. All right. So Shane, who's Shane here? What's Shane got to do with all this here?
Nice. I appreciate you asking. I've been friends with Alex for quite a while now, well over a decade, and we've been through a lot together. I've learned so much about the endocannabinoid system and CBD through Alex and I guess proxy through Dr. Trinh. So I am grateful to be a part of this conversation. I've been in the hydrogen industry since 2013, so 10 years now. I got myself an alkaline water machine after I was involved in a very bad ATV accident. I got traumatic brain injury, almost broke my C1, C2 vertebrae, which as you, I always look for the facial reactions when I say that.
I'm going to have to leave. I can't continue this conversation. You're sending chills up my spine, all this stuff here.
Yeah, I was very, very fortunate not to be left as a quadriplegic breathing through a tube and just being alive. Fortunately, I experienced a bit of vertigo naturally, as well as my biggest challenge was aphasia. So for those that don't know what that is,
I've heard the term for that.
Yeah, I knew what I wanted to say. My cognitive function, my memory is all good, but it would kind of come out as like, a whole sentence in one word. It would just be like garbled out. So I had to actually, go through little monotonous exercises of teaching myself how to talk again, like 3-word sentences, 4-word sentences. And I was pretty hard on that because I like to talk. So I needed to make sure that I could continue to do that. And actually, oddly enough, 2 weeks to the day of me being in an accident, I was already playing baseball again, which in retrospect, I should not have been doing, because if anything had gone wrong, then right back to square one again.
But we're guys, we're applauded if we get back on the horse again here immediately.
Yes, exactly. So I ended up investing in a Kangen water machine, because my buddy had been trying to sell me a Kangen water machine for years. And
let's stop for 1 second. That's the one I'm familiar with. I think it's out of Korea or something, and they have franchises all over the country or something like that. And they've been touting this for a while. This idea that alkalinity in water, not just filtering out other bad stuff, which some of these systems do. We all know there's a lot of heavy metals and contaminants that still make it into our system. The federal government allows so many parts per million, and people are like, I'm not sure I want any part of that stuff in my water here. But it's hard to purify everything here, and I'm not doubting any of our water purity and everything else, but people want something better. So part of it is they go in for that. But the issue, and that's what we're going to talk about the rest of the show here today, is this notion that somehow adding alkalinity, making your water more alkaline, somehow, I didn't hear about this condition. I always heard that alkalinity kills cancer, or that cancer can't thrive in alkaline water. Is that
there? Yeah, that comes from a quote from Dr. Otto Warburg. He was Nobel Peace Prize winner in 1931. He did not win the Nobel Peace Prize for saying that. That was a theory of his. And there is some, while there's some truth to that, drinking alkaline water isn't going to have any effect on that whatsoever. And I've got actually a perfect example of that. I live just outside of Vancouver in British Columbia. We're surrounded by mountains. You would think that we would have a very good mineral content in our water. Oddly enough, we have borderline reverse osmosis water. We've got it like minimal. That's, like I say, that's bordering on reverse osmosis.
Meaning that they've taken everything out of the water.
Yeah, it's very pure-ish water. To a degree, when it comes out of the water treatment plants, one of the problems that we have, and this is everywhere, the piping from the water treatment plant to your home, that's got all sorts of things that are then leaching into your water, like you already mentioned earlier, heavy metals. It's actually been studied and recognized that there's a heavy amount of lead in our water. And I mean, I live in BC, I hear it all the time. Oh, we got the best water in the world. I'm like, in comparison to what? Flint, Michigan?
Ouch. Sorry to Flint, Michigan. They're the punchline of everybody, but deservedly so. Yeah. Their water, because they have all this aging infrastructure, the pipes are literally rotting and spewing stuff into the water here. Yeah.
That area alone has a tough go with it because they're getting all of their water from the Great Lakes. And so it's just a constant recycling of the water. And most water treatment facilities don't have the ability to remove things like pesticides, pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceuticals are a big one. PFAs, forever chemicals. I've got actually a really good post from that I'm going to be doing on that, and how damaging those can be. But going back to the alkalinity thing, the funny thing in BC is they've now added some calcium to the water, so our TDS has gone up a little bit, but so is the pH of the water. And this is what I mean by this. The pH of the water in BC right now is around 8.5, which is crazy. That's actually very alkaline for tap water. If alkaline water balanced the pH in your body and made your body more alkaline, and that made you healthier, wouldn't everybody in BC be as healthy as humanly possible right now because they're drinking a 0.5 pH water?
Right.
So there's some serious immediate holes in that theory. And that's really what led me to where I am today, and led me away from Kangen and to Alcoviva because, one, their purification, their filtration with the Alcoviva machines are phenomenal, and that is absolutely crucial. The magic of what is done in these machines is creating the hydrogen-rich alkaline water. Let's not get that confused. The hydrogen is going to reduce oxidative stress, permeate your cell membrane, increase mitochondrial function, among which lead to a whole bunch of other benefits for your body. It has nothing to do with the alkalinity, but the water must be purified before it goes through that process. So that's one thing I really like about the Alcoviva machines. They come standard with 16 stage dual filtration, with options to go up, options to remineralize the water like you would need to in British Columbia when it's so minerally depleted. And they've got a technology inside the machine that maintains the electrolysis plates properly so that you are guaranteed a lifetime of hydrogen production. And again, it's the hydrogen in the water that you're looking for. The alkalinity is not changing your health. It's going to taste better, but in terms of actually balancing out your pH, that's a big, huge myth.
Okay. All right, so we're going to delve into some of this because that's what the Kangen machines and all those other things. It's the alkalinity in the water. Is there any support of that, Dr. Trinh? That the idea that I always heard it with cancer, that cancer can't grow or survive or thrive in an alkaline environment. Is that a myth? Is that any support for that?
Yeah, cancer thrives better in an acidic environment.
Okay.
We know that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So the question I would have is, are there studies showing health outcomes, right? Health outcomes outside of the lab, outside of what we see in the lab. Are there studies in humans showing that if you drink the water, right, whether it's alkaline or whether this is hydrogen rich, that there are actually, health outcomes? Are you reducing blood pressures, diabetes, cancers? That would be kind of interesting to see. I don't know if there are. Do you know, Dr. Claudia?
Well, what I do know is we are alkaline by nature, but acid by function. So the most you can do to increase the alkalinity inside the human body, inside your cells, is very important. And as Shane was saying, reducing oxidative stress is really important. And the hydrogen molecules neutralize those. But eating more fruits and vegetables, that increases your alkalinity naturally. I actually disagree with you, Shane. I do think the alkaline water is helpful.
Fair.
And not just the hydrogen ions, because I've done, my own studies with my own patients, one by one, and I've seen incredible impact. Now, can I say that's only H2, the hydrogen molecules or the alkalinity, but I do know that alkalinity has a lot to do with how the body heals.
Yeah, and I do agree with that. It's kind of a hard thing when I'm explaining that. It's more that I'm putting emphasis on the hydrogen in the fact that that's at a cellular level where you're going to see bigger benefits. I'm not saying that alkaline water isn't good for you. There is a benefit to alkaline water. Your pyloric valve is pH sensitive, so the alkalinity will allow for quicker absorption. That's a huge benefit on its own. What I mean, though, is the alkalinity in the water isn't solely responsible for changing the alkalinity or the pH in your cells in your body. That's kind of what I was meaning. I was just more putting the emphasis on the hydrogen above the alkalinity because I do believe it's the more important factor of it.
Well, the other important thing with ionized water is you're breaking down the clusters of water. Water tends to be ionic and it likes to clump. So when you put water through your ionizer, it actually breaks it into smaller clusters, about 5 to 8 molecules, as opposed to 12 and above, which is what standard water or dead water is. So it's like living at the bottom of a pristine waterfall. When the water comes down a waterfall or a river with lots of rocks, you're breaking up those molecules into smaller clusters, which actually penetrate the cells and hydrate you. I have patients who come in and I give them alkaline ionized water, and within like half an hour, they have to urinate. And they're amazed because it's an actual natural way to detoxify the body. So there's actually multiple reasons to have an ionizer. It's, as you said, it removes a lot of the contaminants, and Alcoviva is the best company I've found. I had a kind of in unit before too, and the cleaning of it was just a nightmare. Every 2 weeks, you had to take it apart, put the citric acid cleaner. But I do want to give the Kangen and Enagic people a lot of credit, in the Japanese, because they are way ahead of us in this kind of technology. They've been using alkaline ionized water in their hospitals for years, decades.
Yeah.
Would to God that the United States and Canada get a clue, have alkaline ionized water for patients to drink. And when you make that, you're making the refuse water, so to speak, is acidic. They use that to clean wounds. I've used it to clean wounds in diabetics and have had incredible results, because you're actually sterilizing naturally without putting chemicals.
Absolutely.
And, the Japanese, started this whole technology, and I'm so grateful to them. I just feel like they haven't kept up with the technology. So the Alcoviva units are a cut above, because you don't have to mess with all of the cleaning and also the filtration. I look at the science. I want to see what contaminants are actually removed. And Alcoviva has done their homework. They have third-party independent testing proving that 249 of the most dangerous chemicals and pollutants are removed to a 99.9% degree. And this is an independent lab saying this. This isn't their own scientists in their own lab kind of fudging the numbers, which happens all the time in the pharmaceutical industry. We could have a whole discussion on that, which we won't today, but I don't mean to dominate this whole talk, but I want to really emphasize there's so much more to just H2 water. There's removing contaminants. There's making this water so it will hydrate and penetrate cells, because if the water doesn't penetrate your cells, it's not going to work. And
all right,
that's
It's going to run right through you.
So let's break some of this down again here, because I hear lots of things. I'm searching for. There's a couple other companies I've run across through the years, including one that was run by a very good friend of mine's friend, and I can't think of the name of the company up in Santa Barbara. But there have been more and more of these companies popping up that put in home water purification systems, either tap-based things are at the tap or at the shower head, to full-blown house systems that can cost $100,000 or more or whatever to purify. And they use a variety of ways to do this. Let's talk about some of those things here. One of the things, how do they remove, in addition to injecting, to ionizing the water, to adding more alkalinity to it. How do they do that, first of all? How do you add more alkalinity to your water here? Because water basically, maybe I got to back up for a second. Water chemistry, when I used to have a pool, I was always balancing the acid and the alkalinity. If it's too acidic, that's bad. If it's too alkaline and acidity are opposites, right? If I throw this alkaline powder or something in, it would absorb the acidity out of the water. And I ideally wanted balance. But if it's too balanced, then it becomes, like you referred to casually, dead water. It has no, I guess, value to it or something. I've removed any. It's not like a water in a wild stream somewhere that I drink. So let's talk about
no energy to it.
Yeah, let's talk about how do you infuse alkalinity in it, and then we'll talk about some of the other ways they purify the water, and maybe that's good or bad. So how do you inject alkalinity into water?
Do you want to go for that one?
Is it just an ionizer, just a little device that puts little ions into the water or something as the water goes through it?
We have a series of plates. The highest number of plates I've seen is 9, but 7 to 9 plates. And when you run the water molecules through the ionizer plates, you're splitting off a hydrogen from the two OH molecules. Remember, water is two hydrogens and one oxygen. So you're splitting off one of the hydrogen ions.
Okay.
And that's what the electrical plates do. And the more hydrogen, the pH scale is a logarithmic scale of hydrogen. So acid, which is the lowest, like hydrochloric acid, or actually Coke, Pepsi, all sodas or pop, if you're in the Midwest, you say pop.
Yeah, right.
That is a high number of hydrogen molecules. I mean, that's how you clean the acid off of, that's how you clean your car battery, okay?
And some people told me, I grew up in the Midwest in Michigan, we called it pop too, soda pop. And if you took pop and like a Coke or Pepsi or something, it was so acidic, you could dissolve things with it if you left it in an overnight or something like.
So this is why people shouldn't be drinking soda. Actually, I was telling one of the landscapers just this week, he had Dr. Pepper there, and I said, just so you know, it takes 40 glasses of water to neutralize all the acid in that 8 ounces of Dr. Pepper you just drank. And he went, because it's a logarithmic scale. So to get your pH back to 7, he would have to drink 40 glasses of water.
Because we've put so much acid. There's so much acid in these soda pops and drinks that we use or something.
They're pushing on children these days, which is just
that's all they want to
horrific.
drink.
And that's why we have children with so many childhood cancers. When I was in training back in the 80s and 90s, we didn't see many children with cancer. Now they have whole hospitals.
Yeah, Children's Hospital here in Orange County.
We're so acidic. And why is that? The food is very low on nutrients these days because of over farming and big mega farms and low nutrient quality. And also what they're pushing on kids. They're pushing on kids all of the acidic foods, Coke, processed foods, all of the carbs, fruits and vegetables. I mean, a cucumber has the alkalinity of 9.5, just like the alkaline water. So if you want to get alkaline, eat a cucumber. Yeah. That will really help you.
Can I mention something? Sorry to cut you off, Dr. Gabrielle. This kind of ties into what I've been doing to kind of alleviate the symptoms.
Yeah, let's bring it back to exactly. Good point. We got so down the rabbit hole here. We're talking about this condition, and you found that this alkaline water did what?
Well, before I talk about that, too, what she was mentioning, like foods. As well. So I did research, and there's certain foods that you need to stay away from with a urethral stricture, and there's certain foods that you should be having.
Okay.
And I found, even through personal experience, nuts, eggs, dairy, alcohol, carbonated drinks, caffeinated drinks, even too much meat, fast foods, spicy foods, all are things that we should avoid. And I've even tested it because I used to drink alcohol quite a bit, and would have not so great experiences after the fact, even with carbonated drinks. And my last emergency, where I had to go into the emergency because my urine flow was restricted, I couldn't pee for about 2 to 3 hours. Until I actually got to the emergency room. But I tried this different coffee out. Before that, I was completely fine. And then all of a sudden, an hour from drinking the coffee, my urine was restricted. So that to me told me, like, oh, I should stay away from these things. And that I've worked really hard on doing that, and following a strict diet of foods that are good for the kidneys, bladder, urethra, and prostate, just to reduce the irritation of that. So, like, I've gone into a routine of making smoothies with broccoli, blueberries, and carrot juice, because they're rich in antioxidants, high in vitamin C, and all together smooth on all those areas of the body.
Okay. All right. So let's. So it's a diet too. This isn't a one size fits all. You got to have
Absolutely.
diet.
So with that diet, sorry, I'm trying to get through this really quick so we can go into the other parts.
Yeah.
With the diet, I noticed that my urine flow went from a spray and drips to like a nice stream, and that was such a relief. But I was finding even with that, my bladder wasn't fully emptying, so that I would still have that bloated feeling, like my bladder was kind of hard, and that would cause me to urinate more often than I should be, anywhere from 7 to 10 times a day, and sometimes throughout the night as well. So it would cause a lot of other issues, like not being able to sleep because I'm waking up, going to the bathroom, and then not being able to go back to sleep again. I wish I had my wife's ability to kind of just close her eyes and snoring 2 seconds later, but I don't
Way to
have
throw
that.
Becca under the bus here, Alex. Holy.
Yeah. Wait a minute. She was
I'm
your
so
better
jealous of
half
that.
until now. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Now
But
she snores.
with the water, so I purchased my machine from Alcaviva in January, and I've been drinking it every day ever since. And I've noticed within the first month, like my water intake alone increased from like 1 to 2 cups a day to 6 to 7 to 8 to 9 cups a day. And through that, I actually noticed after the month of drinking it every day that my bladder was actually emptying and nothing was changing with my urine flow. So it was almost like things were getting back to normal. I know it's not a cure, but for now, it's a great thing that's happening with me. Until I have to, figure out how to get an optimum procedure or some more direct
Support and help. Right. All right. So
yeah.
we're running out of time. This is a complicated issue. You found that it helps your condition.
Yes.
All right. So let's give the product people a chance to talk about their specific
Absolutely.
product. So this specific product, what's the name of it again?
It's Alcaviva.
Alka Viva, like alkaline Viva life. Okay.
And then Viva, like life.
Okay.
So,
And is it a machine that goes into the tap? Is it like my tank that has all the water in it here? What size of the system? How much? What does it do?
So I've got my camera on in my office here. This is the Alcaviva Athena. This is the middle of the road option for the ionizers. It has 7 of the electrolysis plates that will alkalize your water, make acidic water. It's actually a great machine for use in like an office or home.
This is that electrolysis that we're talking about. You electrically charge, or as she described, I don't remember the specific of it, but the water goes through these electrically charged plates, and it gets more alkaline, and it comes out the other side here.
Yeah, it's called electrolyzed reduced water. That's one way of calling it. Ionized water, or hydrogen rich water. And
you keep mentioning hydrogen, so that's one I haven't heard of before. Does this change the water is H2O, and what does it do? It strips one of the hydrogen molecules away. Is that what it does? No.
So it's splitting, as Dr. Claudia was saying earlier. It's kind of splitting it into the hydrogen and H, and then the OH gets split, and that's what's changing the pH. When the hydrogen as an element is very volatile, so when that gets split, it will bond with another hydrogen ion and create H2, which is molecular hydrogen, the smallest molecule known to man. That gets dissolved back into the alkaline water, and that's where you get the benefits from the hydrogen. That's one of the ways of ingesting hydrogen. You'll see that there's studies on inhaling it. There's actually, we mentioned Japan and Korea. There are clinics over there where you can bathe in it. You can inhale it.
Aren't there hydrogen bars or something where you go and?
Yeah, I mean that I would love to see as a more common thing in North America because we need it badly over
I mean,
here.
they
We need
literally,
that.
you go to like a bar and what do they
Hook
inhale it
up
or
to the like the little oxygen tube type things that goes in your nose. Yeah, you can do that over in Korea and Japan. Um, you know, convenience is definitely key, especially in North America when it comes to your health, and that's why my preferred choice of ingesting hydrogen is through water. Our bodies are 70% water. You're gonna
yeah.
need water anyways.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm not gonna go hook up to a machine. I don't think just or go hang out at the bar to add hydrogen to my body. And the
yeah,
hydrogen does what beyond the? That's the part I'm missing. What is hydrogen? This 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 pure hydrogen that's now split off. What effect does that have on your body? I understand the ionization and
yeah,
the
yeah.
acidity and alkaline levels here, but the
So it
actual
was
free hydrogen now. What does that do?
So it was discovered in 2007 in an article that was published in nature.com. Nature Medicine. It's nature.com now because that's where everybody goes for their information
Right.
online. That H2 is a unique selective therapeutic antioxidant. So what H2 will do is selectively scavenge the hydroxyl radical as well as the peroxynitrite free radical, but particularly the hydroxyl radical, as it is a byproduct of ATP production from your mitochondria, sorry. And it's like the exhaust to a car, and a lot of exhaust systems are messed up in us, and so the hydroxyl radical is at an all-time high. Hydrogen will find the hydroxyl radical and bond with it and actually convert it into water, which not only neutralizes the most cytotoxic free radical in your body, but it then allows it allows hydration at a cellular level and also allows a very easy way for your body to expel the now neutralized
You
free radical out.
I hate to be crude, but you piss it away here, right?
You piss it or sweat it right out of your body, and
Okay.
it's phenomenal.
Dr. Trinh, I always hear you talk about and others talk about free radicals. I don't these things floating. Radical aloud sounds dangerous. It's radical, but these free radicals flowing through your bodies that can what? Feed cancer or cause cancer or promote the
Just
growth of cancer.
promotes damage to cells and things floating around your blood with that.
So you want to
Uh,
find these things and flush them out. And one way is to bond them with hydrogen, which turns them into water
yeah,
and
it kind of
sweat.
sequesters it and sucks it up.
Mhm.
So yeah, free radicals essentially is a promoter of aging by damaging cells and inflammation as well. That
Because
is
that's one of
Mhm.
the other supposed health benefits of all these ionization systems, these alkaline systems, is that is there any evidence that it
Anti-inflammatory.
does slow down aging? That your skin
I'm so
cells and your
glad that
body
you
cells?
asked that. I actually have a study that I will be posting on my page. Probably I'm going to do it today just because we're talking about it. It's
Right.
a study from 2022, May of, so about a year ago, that shows support in how hydrogen will help with anti-aging and slow down the aging process.
So
And
there's
it's
more benefits
and
other than just removing this bad stuff out of your system. It has some long-term effect because what the cells don't break down or the cells don't degenerate or
Yeah, it's actually there are studies that are showing that hydrogen will protect your DNA and RNA. It does this through increasing mitochondrial function, and it is also a cell signaling molecule, so it will tell your cells what they're supposed to do. And most importantly, hydrogen being the smallest molecule known to man, it will permeate the cell membrane and get in there. And so, you look at, say, a typical antioxidant like vitamin C,
right.
and you look at an antioxidant like hydrogen, and it's a lot like what Dr. Claudio was talking about with the cluster size of the water molecules. The vitamin C isn't going to be able to get to areas that hydrogen can. And so there's theory that the hydrogen is actually permeating the blood-brain barrier. I know personally, I've used it myself for physical injuries, and I know that it can permeate the skin barrier. But there's also a lot of repairing of your intestinal tract and your gut health, which then, as we know now, is a direct relation to your brain health too. So is it, it may be permeating the blood-brain barrier, but it's also definitely helping with gut health, which is going to help with your brain health.
Does this have anything to do with, I see people, we had somebody on one of these shows, like, what do they call them, hyperbaric chambers or something? You go in if you have an injury, and they somehow do what? They somehow surround you with oxygen or pressurize this oxygen so it goes into, you're in a pressurized chamber somehow here. I don't know if this has anything to do with that, if that is the same kind of theory.
It's different. Dr. Claudia, do you know more? I personally don't know as much about hyperbaric chambers, so I don't want to
spread misinformation here. Yeah.
Kind of on the same wavelength. Hyperbaric oxygen puts you in a pressurized system, and it increases the oxygenation of the blood. So when deep sea divers come back up too quickly and they have bends, things like that, it's the same kind of idea, but you don't have to get into a big chamber for several hours and be brought down and brought up to do this kind of thing. But you're on the right track, Paul.
All right. So in our final few minutes here, a lot of interesting ideas. Why isn't this common knowledge? Why is it still, there are manufacturers out there. You guys have mentioned one. We'll give you another chance to mention it again here. But there aren't millions of them. If I go up and down the street here in my neighborhood, I doubt anybody has one of these things. Maybe they have one at the tap level. Maybe they have one at their shower head. A few people might have one under the sink, a little bit bigger model. But this whole idea of taking the water that our municipal water districts spend a lot of time and effort to take everything out of, but the theory is they take too much out. It becomes dead water, basically. And it's not like a living stream anymore here, the kind of water that, we still search for here. An artesian well, where it's going through rocks and picking up minerals and everything else here. It doesn't have some of that living quality to it here. Why isn't this more discussed? Why isn't this more commonplace? I'll go to Dr. Claudia first. Why is this still something that we're all shocked to hear about?
That's a really good question. I think what, at least in America, what's happened is they've glommed on to carbon filtration because it's cheap.
Mm-hmm. You run it through carbon filters and it grabs everything and pulls it out. The refrigerator
filter does.
Right.
Having a machine in your home is a little bit more money invested. And so I think it's more of a money issue for people. And the other thing is, I appreciate all that the EPA has done to try to regulate chemicals, but there's about 7 new chemicals released every day. And there are about 60,000 that we know of in the United States that are in our environment. And at least 2,000 of those in our water, documented in our water. And the EPA's Safe Water Drinking Act only regulates about 100, actually 91 of those 2,000. And then there are 60,000 floating around that aren't even regulated or measured. So
I'll give you a couple that Dr. Trin's mentioned before, and I've read studies about it as well. Drugs. We're all taking lots of pills and drugs, and a lot of this doesn't get absorbed in your system, so you pee it out, and then it goes into the filtration system as they recycle or reuse that water. More and more we want to recycle and reuse water, and the common filtration methods, whatever it is, carbon, or they have all sorts of ponds and they move the water around and it dissolves all this stuff, doesn't catch hormones, doesn't catch drugs, doesn't catch steroids, doesn't catch all these other things that we're ingesting and peeing out. And as Dr. Trin says, we have some of the most, chemically changed water in the world for nothing other reason than the pharmaceuticals that we're ingesting, passing through, and they're not picking up on the way out here. And young girls are having menstrual cycles at 12 now or something, and all this kind of stuff.
Younger, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, also just to the west, the east of you guys in Orange County, where this show is based.
Right.
Remember Erin Brockovich?
Yeah, right.
That whole movie, that whole movement. chromium-6, which is what she exposed, is not part of the Environmental Protection Agency Safe Water Act.
Wow.
So chromium-6 isn't in those 91 that
it's
they
not
recommend.
even included in what the EPA mandates is regulated.
When I go down to the local water district, they're not looking for chromium-6 any more than they're looking for steroids or hormones or whatever. They're not trying to find a way to filter that back out of the water.
The media that it takes to bind all of those is expensive. And that's why the ionizers are so important, because they remove the contaminants and they ionize the water. So it's the best I have found to really recommend to my patients and those I know, love, and serve, because.
And they're doing it from a chemical standpoint, not a carbon's trying to catch it, but you're trying to say that it somehow, this hydrogen, once it's released in the ionization process, wants to bond with something. And when it does, it forms another substance that passes through your body or passes through your system here.
Well, all of these toxins, the PCBs, the VOCs, the volatile,
all that plastic stuff.
All of those are toxins, and they're creating more free radicals, like what Shane was talking about. So the issue is, we're bombarded by more and more chemicals, and stress releases free radicals, as well, as Dr. Trinh probably has mentioned a lot on his shows. So what we want to do is decrease the amount of toxins that we're being exposed to.
So you're talking about three things, really. You're talking about toxins, chromium, nasty PCBs, stuff we put in plastic and everything else, artificial substances or stuff that we're not catching. You're talking about other sorts of free radicals that are roaming through our bodies here now. And you're talking about maybe water that has become kind of dead, doesn't have the health benefits. It's too acidic. It's not either what we're consuming or because they've stripped all this stuff out. You're talking about acidity and how that promotes or can encourage the growth of cancers in an acidic environment. You're talking about stuff like chromium that I don't want in my body here. And you're also talking about trying to clean up other crap from all this other stuff that's entered our water system and that we're putting into our bodies here. Sounds like we've got to put up a defensive shield. How do we go find this company to put into my house here? What's the value of my home health and my children's health and my own health here? You say it costs.
That was one of the main reasons I pushed my wife to hey, let's invest in one of these, because you're pregnant. We're bringing a life into this world. You need to be hydrated, because she was always like, I'm so dehydrated. And
dehydrated, lack of hydrogen or water.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
And so, if I may share a link to where
please,
people can look into this.
Right.
It is www.alkaviva, ALKIVA. Alkaviva, BC.ca. So that's,
which stands for Canada. Right, so it's a Canadian site here.
Yes, this is my site. And I'm from Canada, so
you're from Canada. You're from BC, just like me. But Alkaviva serves people all around the world. I personally have customers in Israel, Kuwait, Japan, Germany, all over the world. So wherever you are listening to this from, don't worry, we are able to serve you. And I just want to, because I know there are times running out here.
Yeah.
I just want to say the reason that people don't know is just that this is still a fairly new technology.
I see.
And so I am very grateful for you guys having us on this show, so Alex can share his story, Dr. Claudia can share her experiences, and I can share my experiences with what we're doing here, because I do truly believe that this is a game changer for so many different people, because water is the foundation of our health. You can eat as clean as you possibly want, but if you're not paying attention to your hydration levels, you're not even taking care of half of the equation. And so next to air to breathe, the quality of water you're drinking is extremely important So
Amen to
I am
that.
very grateful
The
for
whole
you guys
idea of the
having
Clean
me on.
Water Act back in the 70s and everything here. We got to clean up our act. We got to clean up our water here. And
Exactly.
we've done some remarkable jobs to get to where we're at. But as Dr. Claudia is saying, we're still sticking a heck of a lot of stuff. We're inventing new chemicals, adding new additives, putting more crap in our food and our clothing and our plastic bottles and all this stuff. And I don't know how we even keep up with all these new chemicals entering our body, or drugs, and all these other stuff that we're doing here. So, all right, fascinating stuff. Alcaviva, I'll go check it out. Is this a worldwide company, or is this out of Canada?
They're based out
US.
of they're based out of Reno,
Okay.
Nevada. But as mentioned, it is a worldwide company. We have a warehouse facility in Edmonton, Alberta. So Canada is very easily served. But like I said, anywhere in the world, we can help you out.
Alcaviva. I thought it would be in Las Vegas, like Viva Las Vegas here. But maybe that's just, I'm dating myself here. Elvis movies. All right. Well, thanks for coming on. I'd love to have you come back sometime, because I really think we just scratched the surface here. There's a lot of science talk that gets my head spinning as to the value of what are free radicals, and how much of it does the government regulate and pick up, and how much of it do they miss, and how do they pull this stuff out, and the chemistry and the science of all this stuff. But you got three people here that said, leave the science aside. They've just seen it work in their lives or in their patients' lives here. So
and Dr. Trinh, I just the cool thing about all this is, as of right now, there's around 2,000 studies on the benefits of this water, of hydrogen. More and more human studies are coming out. That's how science works. It starts with the in vivo, in vitro studies, moves on to animals, and there's a lot of human studies coming out. I know there's some on rectal cancer, Parkinson's, type 2 diabetes that are coming out too. So, just like they're coming out with, 6 new chemicals every day, like Dr. Claudia said, there's more and more studies coming out on the benefits of this every single day.
There is a place here in Costa Mesa. I was trying to find it here so I could give them a shout out to, but they actually sell, it's like I won't say dispensary, a bar, a place. You go pick up bottles of alkaline water. So if you don't have a system, they'll sell you bottles or jugs of alkaline water. I forgot the name of it. Somewhere here in Costa Mesa here, or near UCI here. I'll have to go look it up. But there are people out there in various ways, shapes, or forms, from simple systems that catch some of this at the tap level, to bigger systems that sit under your counter like Kangen, to even whole home systems. I've read about celebrities buying these things and, water is setting up their whole system to remove 100% of this stuff, or as much of it as they can catch. Yeah. It's really gaining traction, and I don't think it's gotten to the public awareness yet, but it's getting there, and shows like this will help.
Alcaviva, just so you know, does have whole home filtration system options, as well as salt-free water softeners, and they're nowhere near $100,000.
Okay. Yeah, that's the ones I heard.
100%. I'm glad that you brought that up, because there are a lot of people that are looking for exactly that, but they think that they're going to be spending $15,000, $20,000 plus to get it done. There are great systems that are available to you, and we're here to help.
Okay. All right. Thanks for doing it. Alcaviva. We'll check it out. Take us out, Dr. Trinh. You find the most fascinating topics here.
Thanks. And so I thank you everyone for coming on board. Very educational. Learned a lot more about hydrogen water, alkaline water. So I think my next ice bath is going to be with hydrogen water.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Do it.
Don't just take the garden hose and fill it up anymore here. Although that probably has a lot of minerals in it and chemicals.
I'm so glad that you're an ice bather. I start my day with a 5-minute cold shower every day.
Yeah, you guys are nuts, but he swears by it.
I'm not disagreeing with that part.
All right. Thanks, guys. All right.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it, folks. One more reason you got to tune in, because we're talking about stuff you may not know about, you may not have heard about. Stuff like alkaline water and hydrogen-infused water and the health properties, and treating conditions like urethric constrictions, if I said that right. All sorts of things happening to us out there these days. We got to pay attention. We got to talk about more, which we do here in Health Talks from our studio, streaming live, no pun intended, streaming live from the University of California, Irvine's Beale Applied Innovation Center.